Live streaming of SDR news coverage at HP Discover has been made possible by Intel Corporation. Check out Intel Open Port IT, where you can connect with your peers at Intel on industry topics, best practices, strategies, and more. And by Microsoft, where HP and Microsoft are working together, combining their respective strengths to deliver innovative technologies to help advance your business.
One of the biggest stories here at HP Discover, of course, is surrounding storage. And we're going to be talking about that from maybe a little bit different perspective in the history of storage, specifically in what had been the 3PAR company, now a part of HP. And we have Siamak Nazari, who was there almost from the very beginning.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Exciting journey.
Yeah, it certainly has been. We'll talk about that in just a moment.
Sure.
But what's new in storage at HP Discover this week?
So we introduced the 7450 flash-based storage device, which is architecturally has its roots in 3PAR 7400 line of hardware and software products. And we have introduced a box that gives 500,000 IOPS at well below 1 millisecond, actually below 700 microsecond latency. So I think we have taken the architecture really and introduced the set of enhancements required to adapt it to a flash environment in terms of the latency requirements, throughput, and IOP requirements.
Now, you're a senior software architect within the storage division. But your story begins much earlier with Lotus, and then principally at Sun.
That's right. So I actually have been doing distributed operating systems for a long time. I started at Locus Computing, where we were building really the first single system image operating systems. And then from there I went to Sun, where I worked on Sun Cluster, where it was all about distributed systems and highly available systems and failover. And it was just a natural outgrowth from that to storage in a sort of a interesting way, because one of the puzzling facts at Sun was always configuring storage, right? It always took too long, and it was always too esoteric, as if storage was stuck in the 1970s kind of mainframe way, batch processing way of doing things.
So every good product begins with pain.
Exactly, exactly. And it seemed like needless pain, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we decided that it would be cool or interesting to actually build a different kind of storage device, one that had a server DNA in it, right? And server DNA is very different from sort of embedded small DNA, right? Lots of parallelism, lots of quality of service, lots of multi-tenancy requirements, and those are all the things that sort of we took into account from the very early on when we were designing the box, right? So it was really from grounds up a very different kind of architecture.
So more of a really a systematic approach
absolutely
to the architecture overall.
Absolutely, right? It sort of think through the system design as opposed to as a storage device. Think of the system design. What are the requirements of the system design? And that's really what we started from.
So you were, if not employee number 4 after the first 3 founders, but you were in the top 10.
Right. It was very early on. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you've had a chance to see the before and the after. The merger occurred, what, 2 years ago?
That's right. 2 years ago. A little over 2 years ago.
And so. Working in a large company versus working in a very small company, how would you contrast the two? What's been the biggest change for you?
So it's actually kind of interesting. It's been quite seamless in some ways, and I think some of it has to do really with David Scott and the fact that as a CEO he became the GM for storage at HP, right? So a lot of the day-to-day things in terms of how we think about architecture, how we think about system design, is really the same, but some things are actually very different also, right? For instance, as a small company, you have a tougher time, acquiring necessary resources, from hardware to folks to be able to actually really, engage all the potential of the architecture that we put in place, right? With HP, we are able to actually now sort of, take this architecture to where we knew we could take it. So for instance, just look at the flash array. I mean, the DNA is all the stuff we built, but it would have been very difficult as a small independent company to continue to sort of take it to where it has gotten us.
Well, I think one of the, as I understand the 7450, one of the aspects there is that you really have taken a very systematic approach to that, rather than focusing on pure speed as many competitors have done.
Exactly. And so the way to think about it is that, there's a lot of new flash vendors that are fast, but then they all come at the expense of the resources, the set of services you come to expect from a high-end storage device, right? And so the question is, how do we take what is rich in terms of the services and adapt it to flash, right? And so I think we've proven the architecture is well designed to be able to get adapted to a new model, and really, the flash is so much faster. If you think about a per gigabyte IOP density of a flash device to spinning media, we're talking a 500 to 1 difference in terms of the delta, right?
Right, but you also have to have the data mobility to be able to move back and forth to rotating media.
Exactly. So all of that in terms of the adaptive optimization software that we have built, all that stuff is a testament to the sort of a fine-grained design from layer to layer and stack to stack to be able to add the enhancement without necessarily rewriting from scratch.
How has it changed the relationship with customers from working with a very large company versus a very small company? So
one of the things that is very interesting, when we were 3PAR, sometimes you would go to the customer and there would be customer briefings, and often the customer would say, 3PAR, who? I mean, we were just a smaller player, right? And as HP has the kind of reach, both in terms of the customer service, the type of countries that they're operating in, that is essentially has made a world of difference in terms of our ability to reach our customers and support them and provide the necessary end-to-end software. And beyond that, HP has a lot of other resources at its disposal, right? And other technologies that we can leverage, like Store Once, and the data protector assets that they have. So all of those means that we are able to actually integrate with the portfolio of technologies and have a much better end-to-end result in terms of what the customer actually receives from us.
Hey, have you had surprising conversations with other software architects within HP that may be totally outside of the storage business?
So that's an interesting observation. I come from a server background, so server operating system background. So I often talk to our HP folks about, folks from the HP UX environment, right? And it's interesting how similar some of our problems are, because at the end of the day, you're trying to solve these massive scaling issues and massive failover issues and HA issues, right? And it turns out a lot of the lessons we learned and a lot of lessons that they actually have learned over the years are very compatible and very complementary at times, right? So yeah, it's kind of interesting. We actually have a very nice conversation with the rest of the HP software folks. Does
the customer conversation change, or does it remain the same?
In some ways, it becomes much easier because HP is a trusted brand, and so the first part of the conversation around the viability goes away. But a lot of it is also, at the end of the day, customers are looking for competitive products, right? And so the value story and the architecture and the performance and the features, a lot of that is really the same, right? And sort of we are able to wow the customers by providing the set of services that we have always done, right?
Okay. Final question.
Sure.
Are you having fun?
A lot. It's actually surprising that I've been at it for 13 years now.
Yeah.
And every day it's still fun because I just look at the roadmap of what I need to do next year, 2 years, 3 years. I can see 3 years in front of me still of all the stuff that will take us 3 years to develop. And as a developer, that's just really the most fun aspect of your job, is knowing that you're able to innovate and you're able to keep your customers happy. Right?
Excellent. Where can people go for more information about 3PAR and this journey?
So I think hp.com/go/3PAR is sort of the central repository to get all the information necessarily for getting more information on 3PAR.
Okay. Siamak, been a real pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking time
to
join us. Thanks for taking your time to join us as well in our continuing coverage here at HP Discover.